Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Agent Insiders. We're just chatting and talking about how quickly this year has gone past, and here we are, smack dab in the last quarter, middle of October, looking ahead, planning for 2024, and wanting to finish out the rest of this year strong. So, in this episode, we wanted to tackle fourth quarter success and no tricks, just tips in making that happen. So, with each of our panelists, we kind of just wanted to have an open dialogue today on some things that you are each doing and setting yourself up to finish this year strong and planning forward. And then maybe some success stories that we can each share towards the end.
Well, usually, my fourth quarter is usually one of my best quarters, shockingly. I don't know if it's just the luck, but I also notice a lot of peers and other people fall off during the holidays. So if you're working, it tends to attract the business just naturally too. It just seems that way. And so when even that last bit, when you get pulled to want to go Christmas shopping, want to go run your errands, your personal stuff, stay focused, go in if you have to go into the office. I'm an office person normally, but just get up, get dressed, keep going. And I know before we popped on for the recording started, we talked with Karen, and Karen was saying she's getting all her marketing materials organized for the new year. And again, focusing using this time to get yourself set up so you can hit the ground running after the end of the into the new year.
And that's a really good point. And having all those marketing materials up and ready to go. I've had a lot of requests for very specific farms and things looking ahead, not just on immediate based off of current escrows or current listings, but a lot of farming strategy for planning looking forward into the new year.
Yeah, I think if if this isn't a busy quarter for you, then this is the best time for you to prepare for what is to come and have all your collateral and everything ready to go. So you know exactly what you're going to do January 1.
There's some on
I
now.
agree. Now's the time to just like continue building. I'm with Megan, where my fourth and first quarter are always busier than I am during the summer. And I think that's just once the kids get back in school, it's easier for me to focus and keep up the routine. So yeah, just building out the farm. I have a really specific farm I got from Raquel last week. So just going hard this fall.
One, there's um, November, December, there's a lot of investors that are moving things around, changing their portfolio. So if you want to focus on that, that's one option. And then the other ideas is just what Shandy just said, is that people are done with summer and focusing on towards the end of the year. So that's also once kids go back to school, even there's a lot of people that are doing that same stuff, kind of getting ready for their end of the year goals, even just buyers and sellers as well.
Yeah, I had a client, they're preparing to list and buy, and they're waiting till they can file their taxes to do so. So that's like another, just we need to be thinking of what our clients are doing, and they're waiting for tax returns to file taxes to get pre-approved, whatever the case may be. So now is not the time to ease up on the marketing efforts.
Yeah, and I mean the market is very challenging and weird right now, and I think that there's with the media and everything, there's a lot of mixed messages going to our clients, and that it's important to just pick up the phone and call people and just say, hey, like, are you okay? Are things good? Like, what questions do you have? Whether they're, in the process of buying or selling or pre-approved or whatever, just communicating what's actually going on, what we're seeing on a micro level, because I think every market is so specialized that it's important to just be continuing to communicate with those people on what's actually going on.
I think it's
You did
really
a great
helpful.
video, Kayla.
What?
The video you just posted was
Thanks.
Superb.
I'm gonna have to go watch it.
I know, I
You
haven't
should.
seen it
Got
either.
brought up twice now.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was great because, like Kayla, you just brought up, they're hearing so many conflicting messages. And you, as a trusted advisor with your clients that you have a rapport with, that is really impactful when you can have just a really down to earth conversation with them and be able to address all that's happening and all that's coming at them from different media sources and really break it down into something that's more meaningful and truthful based off their situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess a success story from that specific video, anything I post on social media, I also email to all my clients for the people that are not on social. I know we've talked about this before, but I emailed that yesterday and spoke to clients that I have a property listed with them. You know, we had kind of been toying with doing a price reduction over the last or coming into this week. And after seeing that video, they're like, well, what if we go this seller credit route with doing a price reduction? So it just kind of got their wheels turning on alternative marketing to actually get their house sold.
Mm-hmm.
It shows that it works, that you're putting out a message that resonated.
Mm-hmm.
What were your alternative marketing tips?
Seller credits.
Okay.
Yeah, just marketing, you know, just I think that right now, personally, I mean, I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but especially with buyers that are buying with loans, as most of them are, that, you know, seller credits are a better use of the seller's dollars for the buyer as opposed to price reduction, just given, you know, the current market conditions.
Mm-hmm. So Kayla, are you doing that as an email blast? Are you putting it in private remarks? Are you putting it on social media? Are you putting it all of the above?
All everywhere. Yeah. So if I think that the best way to do it is to pair it with a small price reduction, obviously, because then the people are getting the price reduction emails as well, but then also doing, you know, the email blast, putting it on social, all those kinds of things that to get that information out.
Yeah, and I think also we all need to keep in mind that a lot of times that the seller credit, it's hard for the clients to necessarily understand. So it's engaging with real other realtors in our community to make sure that they know that that's out there because not everybody might be as in tune to
Yeah,
them.
understand what that means.
Yeah.
For sure.
So it's interesting. I received an email today talking about the seller concessions. I received an email today that talks about different loan types and what the max seller concessions are. So
Yeah.
I think that was a really good, helpful reference to be able to know so that your clients, depending on the loan types and what their situation is, that you have that information top of mind.
Yeah. And I mean, work with your preferred lenders too, on your listings to know kind of how, like, what is that number, that seller credit number that you should market to people? Like, what are people in that price range? How much money are they putting down? And then kind of working backwards from the max seller credits that you can offer just based on the different loan types. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also understanding from both sides, like the listing side and a buyer side, if they are getting max credits, how that's going to affect like repair negotiations.
Sure.
Oh, go ahead.
Just going to say, I think that right now the sellers are really, really appreciative of having some of those other strategies rather than just talking about those price reductions, because I think they really see the value that you are bringing in looking at alternative ways to have their home stand out from others in the marketplace.
Also, not to like switch subjects, but just since kind of more of an open forum today, I thought I wanted to ask you guys, one of our largest discussions we talked about was the repair costs and the fight and the struggle and stuff. Are you guys still seeing that right now? I'm seeing even with, you know, inventory sitting on the market and then and I keep hearing I'm not seeing it as bad as we saw before, but keep seeing like things fall through over, a couple $1,000 because the seller is not willing to. And kind of made me think of when you said save that money for repairs, just what you guys are seeing. Are you still seeing that?
I'm not seeing repair things. The back to market stuff that I'm seeing is more of contingency on contingency. You know what I mean? And then one doesn't go into contract
Mhm.
fast enough in order for the next one to fall. So that's what I'm seeing a lot of and hearing a lot of the back to market is.
Same
Yeah. And I had one that fell off over $6,000.
for repairs.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard it being mixed. So I had a property come back on market due to a contingency, and I had agents calling me, just asking me if it was something weird, not because they were interested in my property, just because they wanted to make sure they weren't alone. And
Right,
that,
right. Yes.
is this what happened? And unfortunately it wasn't, but I have heard that that is going on. I haven't personally been experiencing it.
I had a success story with like a repair contingency, like repairs going on, and it was quite a bit. It was the radon mitigation and then
That's
a
mine.
slew of other items, and the seller was willing to cover the cost of all that and give like a really, really great credit to the buyer. First time home buyer, Midtown adjacent, great property for them, able to come purchase a home for less than $19,000 cash to close, and their payment,
Wow.
yeah, and their payment was affordable for them. In the idea, we did a partial permanent rate buy down and then a 2-1 buy down. So used a couple different strategies there, but the client's super happy. Didn't think it was gonna work out because there was a lot with the repairs and but it did. The seller was willing to agree.
Well,
So
that's where I thought sellers would be a little bit more willing
Lenient.
to. And I just had talked to, because I had a situation where a buyer walked away over $6,000, and at a larger price point.
yeah.
And obviously, I don't think it was truly over the repairs. And the seller had the upper hand because they had a higher backup offer, so it didn't matter to them.
Mm-hmm.
But it just was interesting, and I keep hearing that, especially in the higher end, things are they just are walking away for no reason. Really, it's just weird.
I think sellers are still a little bit on their high horse a little bit when it comes to pricing and those kinds of things that I think over this quarter that will start to change a little bit.
Yeah, and it sounds like you found a seller that was better, Shandy, that was realizing that they should take advantage of it now.
Well, it was an investor too, so they didn't have like an emotional for them. They probably did want to clear it off the books before the end of the year. Um, but I have dealt with I'm working with this investor client, and we've written quite a few offers on properties that have just been sitting that need work, need updating, and the sellers just are being, it feels to me, unrealistic on what they want for their property. But we'll find something.
So Megan, you just talked about how you had yours, that a backup offer. Are you all seeing some of those multiple offer type situations dwindling down, or are you still seeing, depending on price point? I know that plays a factor too.
Yeah, but I just highly recommend writing a backup because again, that one we moved, I was representing the seller and we took the backup offer. And then I had another one where we were put in backup position and we got moved to first position. Again, kind of going with those all, whether it be repairs, whether it be contingency, weird little things. So being in the backup like all day long, if you see something that your clients may be interested in, but going back up, going back up.
I agree 100%. I think the backup offer is where it's at.
And what about with your pricing strategy? Because I know that we were still seeing offers coming in over asking, depending on price point. Are you having those conversations with your clients still as well?
I did have a multiple offer situation a couple of weeks ago, and on a property that came back on market, and all of the offers were well under asking price.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
that's interesting too, because I've had where there's multiple, but they're all under asking. So,
Yeah.
I mean, people are still being educated and cautious,
Sure.
but putting an offer in.
Yeah.
and how are you seeing the pricing with appraisals?
I haven't had any issues.
I haven't had any issues either. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I've had one appraisal issue this whole year, but not recently.
Because the last conversation I had with appraisers, it sounded like the homes were still appraising in and around what asking or being over what the asking is when the appraisal comes in. So I think one of the key elements is also patience too, because the buyers are taking a little bit more time in their decision process. And that can be positive, not them not having the buyer's remorse. They feel like they are truly doing their due diligence when they make their offer, and it's just not the rapid fire.
And that's a discussion I'm having with sellers right now too at the listings is preparing them. And I joke with them and say I have to remind myself, like I listed one on Friday and we've had 0 calls, 0 showings, and I'm getting anxious and I'm like, wait, I told them this was gonna happen. But having it happen, you're like, not even a call. Like but it's normal. And then when I did have the discussion, I backed up the information of where days on market and just how in some of my other success stories throughout the year where we sat and it really depends. If they want to go a little bit higher than where that really sweet spot is, then we're going to have to be more patient.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk for a minute about sellers putting homes on the market. And because there we hear, well, there's no real urgency for sellers to sell, but we are seeing homes increase with the quantities that are on the market. I know some of it's longer days on market, so that has increased the inventory. But are you seeing life events being more of a key reason that homes are going onto the market, or what are you seeing with your clients?
Death and divorce.
Yeah,
And
it's life event.
Yeah. And definitely. And even like we've had that discussion, death, divorce, relocation. And then there's a few just needs to bigger house, those type of things, but it has
You
to be
have
the
another baby on the way, like Kayla, and you decide that you need a bigger house or whatever that situation may be. All of those things are still happening. Or aging parents as well, where I know that Kirsten and I have seen where friends are now starting to look at having their parents needing to move in with them.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I would say lots of life events. Majority.
Yeah.
I know. In the back of my mind, I was just thinking, oh, I'm not ready for that yet.
My mom's one of my best friends, but I don't know if I'm ready for roommates again.
Yeah, right.
I think what's hard too is when you have different generations of roommates. You have kids and then you have your parents. Like that's a whole other element.
Yeah.
The multiple generations.
Yes.
I kind of wanted to just bring up really quick when we are talking about the multiple situation. It seems from what I'm gathering is even if a buyer is really interested in a property, they're not really submitting right away. They are taking their time and thinking about it, and the agent is just asking to stay in touch if an offer does get submitted. So I think that's, again, the communication amongst us agents is so important to stay really in tune to make sure if a client does want to submit, they get the opportunity to, and check in with that listing agent every so often.
I think it's important too, what Megan said, is just making sure you're educating your sellers that buyers might come see your house 2 or 3 times before they are writing an offer. And then there might be a week lag time in between that,
Yeah.
not to get, frustrated with that specific buyer that it took them so long or something like that.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be crazy sense of urgency.
Or lowball offers. I had one where the seller was so mad by the lowball offer, but then we came to terms and he was like, I can't believe I didn't. And I was like, you can't blame them in this market. They're going to try, because you would do the same if you were in that position.
Totally.
Yeah.
I just got an offer accepted that was $100,000 under ask price.
Oh my God.
Under?
Yeah.
Was sitting on the market for a long time?
Yeah, kind of. Not.
Never say never.
I know, never say never. And it goes back to pricing the property properly the first time.
Sure.
Like, you go on market, it needs to be priced right. And not like an emotional price. Like, I feel it's worth.
Right.
Sure.
Well, and I'm sure the sellers sometimes are really adamant of where they feel their home should be priced at, even with the best intentions that you are providing the education around where it really should be priced. And they want to do a certain time period to just let's see how this goes.
Right. I mean, that seems like it happens in every market.
Sure.
Where they always want to try to go a little bit higher.
Yeah. Are you seeing different pockets of our area have certain hotspots over others?
I don't know. I just listed one in Sparks and it's dead. But again, it's only been 4 days.
The price point.
Right under 6.
Which is a good price point.
But it's also, I feel like that's that tough little.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is new builders, their concessions are big time. Yes.
Well, and that's what these sellers are doing. They're buying a new build.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's bigger and it makes sense, and all that concessions and like the credits and and then like the lenders, they locked in a certain rate with, like, it's just insane what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, they're giving, I mean, you don't even have to ask for anything, and they're giving you 20,000. You can get up to 40,000 with Lennar, and I'm going to be touring Toll tomorrow, so I'm going to see what they have to say. So.
Yeah, these ones were 25,000 plus they were doing like a 10,000 upgrade plus the buy down option for the rate. It just was insane.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So that's hard to compete with on the secondary market.
For sure.
That's really hard because they're getting the best of all worlds with that.
Well, I just did the worst case scenario of what we'd have to sell their house for. And then we went higher, of course, just so they could know. And then we know where like the numbers are all going to end up.
Yeah.
So in looking ahead into 2024, I'm sure you have some of your clients that have decided they're going to wait to list. So what are some of the conversations you're having with clients and looking and planning for some of your 2024 efforts, knowing that they're already forecasting out ahead?
So I've always, in my personal opinion, felt like the best time to list is in March pretty much March, because I've always felt like inventory is low, but the buyer activity is high. Most people think June, July, well, not most, but or May, June, and there's more inventory at that time, and the buyers sometimes have settled. So if I have people ask me point blank, what's the best time to list? I'm always saying that March, early April is, in my opinion, the best time. So that's the discussions I'm having right now with people that are talking about listing next year. And I'm telling them, I'm calling them after Super Bowl to figure out when. And that's kind of what I've seen historically when we're not having crazy COVID years.
So I've been having conversations around photography too. So even doing photography right now, because then it gets ugly during the winter and then you have your photography ready to go. And so landscaping looks nice and lush. And so if we're going in the fourth quarter or beginning of next year, then having that teed up and ready to go.
Yep. And I've done that I've just done exterior now because they're like, my house inside. I'm like, well, let's just do the exterior and then do the, so yes, good point.
Yep.
Yeah, I just did that last week with a listing that's going to go, I mean, in the next 45 days or so, just to have all that looking good.
Those are really good suggestions on the photography because you're right. When the grass is brown and the leaves have fallen, it looks much prettier right now. The really good suggestions for them.
And you figure last year's winter, hung around for so long, even May's photography was not pretty, So
that's also something to kind of train ourselves to for like thinking of like in August before the leaf change, to have those discussions with people that that may be considering, or in the spring when it's nice, because you can tell when it's fall, winter.
For sure. Yeah. But any color is better than gray and brown and
dead.
Yeah.
Dirty snow color.
No. Yes.
And it's so pretty out right now.
Yeah. Well, I like it. It's no tricks with your clients. You're not trying to talk them in or out of any of the decisions. Rather, you're arming them with all of the information and setting them up for what works best for them, whether it's listing in the spring and having everything ready to go, or having the conversations with them right now and how they can be the most competitive in this market. And those really are the best tips to be able to provide in order to meet your clients wherever they happen to be right now. Because all of us are sitting here with the continued news on the interest rates, hoping that there's going to be some drastic change, knowing that it's not going to happen in any quick time period. So it's working with what we can strategically do in order to equip our clients to make the best decisions for them and their situations. So I think that wraps up our time for today, ladies. Thank you for sharing your tips and tricks for ending this year strong, planning ahead into fourth quarter, or planning ahead into first quarter after we get out of this. And if anyone has a success story that you want to go ahead and share to end today, something to highlight all the positives of this working for you, go ahead and chime in.
Backup offers. I think that was my big one. But yeah, write those backup offers. I've had huge success.
The fact that you are seeing these backup offers be successful is that much more reason to really, really, really push that we're seeing cancellations coming in, and these backup offers are able to move into those first positions so much easier.
Mm-hmm. And I know that a lot of other agents in our community are doing it because I get calls on my listings. How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? Because they're ready to write.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thank you all very much. And stay tuned for our next episode on Agent Insiders and what we're doing, staying on top of what's happening in the market and keeping our clients in the best position they can be. So have a great rest of your day, everyone, and we will see you later. Thank you, Karen. Have a great trip. Okay.
I was going to say, can you kick her off or do you have to do it? Or does she have